Dr. Elena Vasquez wiped sweat from her forehead as she stared at the stone wall in front of her. The alien symbols carved into the rock looked familiar, but she could not figure out why. She had been digging on this dead planet for 3 weeks. Now, and every day, brought new questions. The planet had no name. It's just a number. Kepler 440c. It was a cold, empty world with no life. The Hegemony had sent her team here to study the ruins of an old alien city. Alina was good at her job. She had studied alien cultures for 15 years. Ever since the kind beings of the Hegemony had given humanity the chance to explore the stars. Alina remembered learning about the Hegemony in school. 300 years ago, Earth was a mess. Humans fought wars over water, oil, and land. People were hungry and angry. Different worlds. They stopped the wars, gave humans clean energy, and taught them how to build spaceships. In return, humans worked for them across the galaxy as explorers, builders, and researchers. It was a fair deal, Alina thought. Humans got to see the universe, and the Hegemony got willing workers. Everyone was happy. Dr. Vasquez, you need to. See this? Called Dr. Mike Santos from deeper in the ruins. Alina put down her tools and walked through the narrow stone hallway. The walls were covered with more of those strange symbols that made her feel uneasy. She found Mike standing in a large underground room. The ceiling was high, supported by thick stone pillars. But what caught Elena's attention were the carvings on the floor. They showed star maps, mathematical equations, and building plans. The style was different from anything she had seen before. Look at this, Mike said, pointing to a section of the floor. These numbers, ... They're not using the standard galactic math system, but I can read them. Alina knelt down and studied the carved numbers. Mike was right. The symbols were different, but somehow she understood them too. That was impossible. If these ruins were made by an alien race, why could humans read their math so easily? How old are these ruins? Alina asked. Mike checked his scanner. Carbon dating says 12,000 years, maybe older. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. 12,000 years ago, humans were just learning to farm on Earth. They had no spaceships, no advanced math, no technology. Yet here was a civilization that used human-style mathematics thousands of years before humans had invented it. There's more, Mike said, leading her to another section of the room. Look at these building plans. It's the way the supports are arranged, the room layouts, ... It's exactly how humans design buildings. I've seen this style in every human colony I've visited. Alina stared at the carved plans. Mike was right again. The buildings were designed the way humans thought about space and movement, not like the tall, narrow structures that most alien species preferred. These plans showed wide corridors, rooms, sized for human comfort, and doorways that were exactly the right height for people from Earth. This doesn't make sense, Alina whispered. Humans weren't even in space 12,000 years ago. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Mike said, but he didn't sound convinced. Alina spent the rest of the day studying the carvings. The more she looked, the more human elements she found. The symbols for water, fire, and earth were exactly like the oldest human cave paintings. The star maps showed constellations that were named the same way humans named them, even the art. Style looked like something humans might create. That evening, Lena sat in her small research tent and tried to make sense of what she had found. She opened her computer and started writing a report for the Hegemony, but halfway through she stopped. Something told her to be careful about what she wrote. Instead, she sent a private message to her old friend Dr. James Chen. He worked on a research station far from here, studying human history for the Hegemony archives. If anyone could help her understand these ruins, it would be James. James, she typed, I found something strange. Can you check the historical records for any mention of human space travel before the Hegemony contact? I know it sounds crazy, but I need to be sure. She sent the message using her personal communication device, not the official Hegemony channels. Something about the ruins made her want to keep her questions private. The next morning, Elena's team continued digging. They found more rooms, more carvings, and more evidence that whoever built this place thought like humans. In one room, they discovered what looked like a library. The walls were covered with symbols that looked almost like writing, but not quite like any human language Alina knew. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, the team's language expert, studied the symbols for hours. "I can't translate it," she finally said, "but the structure is familiar. It's like reading a language you almost remember from childhood." Alina was about to respond when she heard the sound of spacecraft engines overhead. She looked out through a crack in the ceiling and saw 3 large Hegemony ships landing near their camp. Oh, this was unexpected. Sights unless something important was happening. A few minutes later, Coordinator Zethkar entered the ruins. He was a tall, thin being with gray skin and large black eyes. Alina had worked with him before, and he was usually calm and professional. But today something was different. His movements were tense, and his eyes kept darting around the room. "Dr. Vasquez," he said in his careful English, "I have come to inspect your progress. The Hegemony is very interested in your discoveries." Here, Alina felt her heart rate increase. She had not sent any official reports yet. How did Zethkar know they had found anything important? "Of course, Coordinator," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We've found some interesting ruins. Would you like me to show you around?" Zethkar's eyes fixed on the carved star maps. On the floor, for just a moment, Alina saw something that looked like fear cross his face. Then his usual calm expression returned. "These ruins are dangerous," he said quickly. "They contain biological hazards that could harm your species. Must stop digging immediately and prepare all your data for classification." Alina stared at him. In 15 years of archaeological work, she had never heard of biological hazards in stone ruins that had been dead for thousands of years. "What kind of hazards?" "That information is classified," Zethkar replied. "Pack your equipment. You leave this planet tomorrow." As Zethkar walked away, Alina caught Mike's eye. He looked as confused and worried as she felt. Something was very wrong here. The Hegemony was hiding something about these ruins, and Alina was determined to find out what it was. That night, she sent another message to James, along with photos of everything they had found. She had a feeling that whatever truth lay buried in these ruins, the Hegemony did not want humans to discover it. Dr. James Chen sat in his small office aboard the research station Harmony, staring at the photos Alina had sent him. The symbols in the images made his hands shake. He had spent 20 years studying human history for the Hegemony, and he had never seen anything like this. Yet somehow, the carvings felt familiar. Like a half-remembered dream, James worked in the Galactic Archives, a massive computer system that stored information about every known species in the galaxy. His job was to organize human historical records and make sure they matched the official Hegemony timeline. It was simple work, but he enjoyed learning about humanity's past. The official story was clear. Before the Hegemony arrived, humans lived only on Earth. They had basic technology, simple governments, and no space travel. The Hegemony had given them everything: star travel, advanced medicine, and peace. In return, humans served as workers across the galaxy, but Elena's photos changed everything. If humans could read the writing in those ruins, and if the ruins were 12,000 years old, then the official story was wrong. Very wrong. James began searching the archives with new eyes. He started with genetic records, looking for any mention of human DNA on other planets. The search results surprised him. Human genetic markers appeared in samples from dozens of worlds. But when he looked closer, he found something strange. The dates were all wrong, according to the records. Human DNA had been found on Kepler 186b, mining world 300 light-years from Earth. The sample was dated 8,000 years ago. But humans had only been on that planet for 50 years. James checked the file again, thinking he had made a mistake. The date was correct, but someone had marked the file as data error ignore. He searched for more genetic records. On Beta Centauri 3, human DNA samples were dated 6,000 years old. On Wolf 359c, the samples were 10,000 years old. Every single file was marked as a data error. James felt his heart racing. These were not errors. Someone was hiding the truth about human history. He tried a different search, looking for Any mention of advanced human technology before hegemony contact? Most files came back empty, but he found fragments. A report from a mining operation mentioned finding primitive human tools that used advanced metalworking techniques. Another file described ruins on a dead planet that showed human style. Architecture predating known colonization. All of these files were buried deep in the archives, marked as low priority or data errors. James realized he needed help. He sent a coded message to his friend, Dr. Sarah Kim, who worked in the genetic research division. Sarah was smart and careful, and she'd always been curious about inconsistencies in human records. "Sarah," he wrote, "I need you to run a quiet search on human genetic distribution across the galaxy. Look for any samples that predate official colonization. Be careful who you ask." While he waited for Sarah's reply, James continued digging through the archives. He found shipping records that mentioned Terran-manufactured goods being moved between systems. 200 years before humans were supposed to have that technology. He found military reports describing unknown human settlements in sectors that humans had never officially visited. The more he searched, the clearer the pattern became. Someone had gone through the galactic archives and marked anything about ancient human civilization as fake or unimportant. But they had not deleted everything. Small pieces remained, scattered through millions of files. Meanwhile, on Kepler 440c, Alina refused to stop digging. Coordinator Zethkar had left the planet, but he had stationed 2 hegemony guards to watch her team. Alina told the guards she was just cleaning up the site before leaving. In reality, she was working faster than ever. Deep in the ruins, Alina's team found something amazing. Behind a collapsed wall, they discovered a room filled with crystal devices. The crystals were dark and cold, but Mike's scanners showed they contained massive amounts of stored information. "These are data storage units," Mike whispered. "But the technology is way beyond anything humans use today." Alina carefully touched one of the crystals, smooth and warm, despite feeling cold. As her fingers made contact, the crystal began to glow with a soft blue light. Suddenly, symbols appeared in the air above the crystal, floating like holograms. "Can you read this?" Lena asked Maria. Maria stared at the floating symbols. It's like the writing on the walls, but clearer. I think it's instructions. It's like a manual for using these crystals." Elena felt a strange certainty growing in her mind. Without fully understanding why, she pressed her hand flat against the crystal's surface. The room filled with blue light, and suddenly Alina could see everything. The holographic images showed star maps, but not current ones. These maps showed the galaxy as it was thousands of years ago. Dozens of systems were marked with a symbol that looked like the human flag, but older and more complex. Trade routes connected human worlds across vast distances. Military installations protected human colonies on the edges of known space. "This is impossible," Mike breathed. "These maps show humans controlling half the galaxy." But the images continued. Lena watched in horror as the maps changed. Human settlements began disappearing from the star charts. Red symbols, marked with hegemony insignia, replaced the human flags. One by one, entire human worlds vanished from the records. The crystal showed Alina something else. Massive ships attacking human colonies. The ships belonged to the hegemony species she knew well. Coordinator Zethkar's people, the tall beings called Vorthok, led the attacks. Other hegemony species supported them, the insect-like Krell and the energy beings called here ALs. Alina watched the destruction of world after world. Cities burned, ships exploded in space. Millions of humans died fighting against impossible odds. The final images showed the survivors, small groups of humans hiding on distant planets, or trapped on Earth with their memories changed. "They lied to us," Alina whispered. "The hegemony didn't save humanity. They destroyed us." Back on Harmony Station, James received Sarah's reply. Her message was short and frightening. "Meet me in Storage Bay 7. Come alone. Bring everything. You've found we're not the only ones asking questions."
Ow.
James gathered his way to the storage bay. Sarah was waiting for him, along with two other humans he recognized. Commander Torres from the Defense Corps, an engineer. Park from the construction division. James, Sarah said quietly, we've all found pieces of the same puzzle. Human civilization didn't start 300 years ago. We had an empire that lasted thousands of years, and the Hegemony destroyed it. Commander Torres stepped forward. I've been reviewing military records. Our weapons, our ships, our tactics, they're all designed to be weak. The Hegemony has been keeping us from becoming strong again. Engineer Park nodded. I've been working on Hegemony construction projects for 10 years, but now I realize what I've really been doing. I've been tearing down the last pieces of human technology hidden in their systems. James felt the weight of the truth settling on his shoulders. What do we do now? Sarah looked around the group. We find others. We share what we know. We figure out how to tell the rest of humanity that everything they believe about their history is a lie. As they talked in the storage bay, none of them noticed the small listening device hidden among the cargo containers. Coordinator Zethkar was already making plans to deal with the humans, who were asking too many questions. But across the galaxy, on dozens of human worlds, other people were beginning to remember. Workers found strange artifacts in their construction sites. Scientists discovered genetic evidence that didn't match the official timeline. Soldiers noticed their equipment was deliberately outdated. The truth about humanity's past was starting to surface, and once it did, nothing would ever be the same. Captain Marcus Webb guided his cargo ship through the asteroid field near Vega Station. He had flown this route hundreds of times, carrying supplies between human colonies for the Hegemony. It was boring work, but it paid well and kept him in space. Today felt different. 3 days ago, he had received a coded message from Dr. Chen containing files that changed everything Marcus thought he knew about humanity. The files showed that humans once ruled many star systems. They had built great cities and powerful ships. The Hegemony had destroyed it all and then lied about it for centuries. Marcus looked at his navigation screen, noticed something he had never seen before. The route took him past several large objects that his computer labeled as navigation beacons. But according to Chen's files, these were not beacons at all. They were the remains of ancient human defense stations. Marcus changed course to get a closer look at one of the objects. It was huge, almost a kilometer long, and made of a metal that looked different from modern Hegemony construction. Strange symbols covered its surface. As his ship got closer, Marcus felt something he had never experienced before. The symbols seemed familiar, like words he should be able to read. His ship's computer started receiving signals from the object. The signals were in an old human language that Marcus somehow understood. The defense station was still working after thousands of years, waiting for human ships to come home. Marcus spent 2 hours studying the station. He downloaded technical plans, weapon specifications, and construction guides. The technology was far beyond anything humans use today. These were the ships and weapons of a civilization that could fight as equals with any species in the galaxy. When Marcus finally returned to his regular route, he sent messages to other human cargo pilots. He used careful language, but his meaning was clear. There were things in space that humans needed to see. Meanwhile, on the industrial world of New Pittsburgh, engineer Lisa Park was having her own awakening. Lisa worked for the Hegemony Construction Authority, building and maintaining the systems that kept their space stations running. She was good at her job and took pride in keeping complex machinery working perfectly. But after reading Chen's files, Lisa began to notice patterns in her work assignments. Every few months, she was sent to remove obsolete equipment from Hegemony facilities. The equipment was always old, always made of strange metals, and always used design principles that seemed familiar to Lisa. Today, Lisa was working in the lower levels of Titan Base, removing what her supervisor called primitive backup systems. But as Lisa studied the equipment, she realized it was not primitive at all. The power systems were more efficient than anything the Hegemony currently used. The computer interfaces were designed for human hands and human thinking patterns. Lisa carefully documented everything before removing it. She took detailed photos, copied computer files, and even kept small pieces of the advanced materials. She was not destroying human technology anymore. She was saving it. Lisa sent her findings to a growing network of humans who were sharing information across the galaxy. The network had started with just Chen, Alina, Torres, and a few others. Now it included dozens of humans in different jobs on different worlds. On the mining station Asteroid Home, human supervisor Jack Morrison discovered that his crew had been extracting rare metals for 20 years without knowing what they were really used for. According to Chen's network, these metals were the key components for building advanced human starships. Jack quietly began setting aside extra materials during each mining operation. Dr. Amy Walsh, working in a Hegemony research lab, found blueprints for human weapons hidden in old computer files. The weapons were powerful enough to destroy Hegemony warships. Amy made copies of everything and started looking for ways to build the weapons in secret. Across human space, people began to wake up to the truth. The more they learned, the angrier they became. Their entire species had been robbed of their heritage and turned into servants for the beings who had murdered their ancestors. Elena's team, still hiding on Kepler-442c, made the most important discovery yet. Deep in the ruins, they found a complete weapons factory. The crystal storage devices contained detailed instructions for building everything from personal weapons to massive space battleships. Alina worked with Mike and Maria to understand the technology. The factory could produce weapons using the same rare metals that Jack Morrison was mining. The power systems could be built using the designs that Lisa Park was supposed to destroy. Everything humanity needed to fight back was hidden in these ancient ruins. But the Hegemony was starting to notice the unusual human activity. Coordinator Zethkar received reports about humans asking strange questions, visiting restricted areas, and communicating more than usual. He decided to take action. Zethkar activated something the humans did not know existed: behavioral adjustment protocols. These were mind control systems built into every human colony. The Hegemony had planned to use them if humans ever became difficult to control. The protocols sent out waves of mental energy designed to make humans passive and obedient. On most human worlds, the systems worked perfectly. Humans stopped asking questions and returned to their regular work. But something went wrong on several worlds. Instead of becoming passive, many humans experienced something unexpected. The mental energy waves seemed to unlock memories that had been hidden for generations. People began remembering stories their grandparents had told them about the old days. They remembered dreams of flying among the stars in great ships. On New Geneva Colony, the protocols had the opposite effect entirely. Instead of making humans obedient, they triggered a mass awakening. Thousands of humans suddenly remembered fragments of their species' true history. They remembered being explorers, builders, and warriors. They remembered being free. Commander Torres received emergency messages from military units across human space. Some soldiers had become strangely passive after the protocols activated, but others had become more alert and aggressive than ever. Before, they were asking questions about their weapons, their training, and why they were not allowed to learn advanced tactics. Torres realized what was happening. The Hegemony's mind control had backfired. Instead of suppressing human nature, it had awakened something that had been sleeping for centuries. Alina felt the mental waves hit the ruins on Kepler for 4 to see. But instead of making her passive, the energy seemed to connect her mind directly to the crystal storage systems. Suddenly, she could read the ancient human writing as easily as her native language. She could understand the technical specifications as if she had built the machines herself. More importantly, Alina could feel something stirring in her mind. It was the genetic memory of her species, passed down through generations even when their conscious minds forgot. She remembered what it felt like to be human in the days when humans ruled the stars. Alina sent an urgent message to Chun's network. The Hegemony just made a terrible mistake. They tried to control us, but they woke us up instead. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to remember who we really are. Across the galaxy, humans began to stir. In mining stations and research labs, on cargo ships and military bases, people started to remember. They remembered being proud. They remembered being strong. They remembered being free. The hegemony had ruled through lies and manipulation for 300 years. But lies could not stand against awakened truth. Humanity was finally waking up. Chen looked at the messages flooding in from across human. Space engineers were building weapons. Miners were stockpiling materials. Soldiers were preparing for war. The underground network was becoming an army. The time for hiding was ending. Soon it would be time for humanity to roar. The alarms on New Geneva colony started screaming at dawn. Colonel Sarah Torres stood in the command center, watching hegemony warships descend from orbit. Coordinator Zethkar's voice echoed through the communication systems, calm but threatening. "Citizens of New Geneva," he announced, "for your safety and protection, you will be relocated to secure facilities. Please gather at the designated assembly points. Resistance will not be tolerated." Torres knew what this really meant. The hegemony was going to remove the entire human population before they could spread their awakened memories to other worlds. 50,000 men, women, and children would disappear, just like their ancestors had thousands of years ago. But this time, humanity was ready. Torres activated the hidden communication network that Alina and Chen had built. "All units, this is command. Operation Freedom starts now. Protect the civilians. Fight for your species." Across New Geneva, humans who had been pretending to be loyal workers suddenly revealed themselves as soldiers. Jack Morrison and his mining crew emerged from the underground tunnels carrying weapons built from ancient human designs. Lisa Park activated the defense systems she had secretly installed in the colony's power grid. Amy Walsh's research team began jamming hegemony communications with technology the aliens thought was impossible for humans to possess. The first hegemony shuttle landed in the main square, expecting to find frightened, obedient humans waiting for transport. Instead, they faced Captain Marcus Webb and 200 colonists armed with weapons that could punch through hegemony armor like paper. The battle lasted only minutes. The hegemony soldiers, used to dealing with primitive human equipment, were completely unprepared for weapons based on ancient Terran military technology. Their energy shields failed. Their armor melted. Their confidence shattered. Webb stood over the wreckage of the shuttle and activated his communicator, "New Geneva, to all human colonies. The hegemony is not invincible. We just proved it. Fight back." The message spread across human space faster than the hegemony could stop it. Mining stations, cargo ships, and research facilities, humans heard that their people had won a real battle against their oppressors. The fear that had kept humanity obedient for 3 centuries began to crack. Meanwhile, Lena's team worked frantically in the ruins on Kepler 442, so the ancient weapons factory was producing its first new equipment in thousands of years. Machines seemed to recognize human DNA and responded to Elena's commands as if she were their original creator. "How many ships can we build?" Elena asked Mike as he studied the factory specifications. "According to these plans, we can produce a full battle fleet in 6 months," Mike replied. "But Elena, look at these weapon designs. These ships could destroy anything the hegemony has." Elena smiled grimly. "Then we better get started." But the hegemony was not going to let humanity escape again. Coordinator Zethkar called an emergency meeting of the Hegemony High Council. Representatives from all the major alien species gathered to discuss the human problem. "The humans are remembering," Zethkar told the council. "They are building weapons and organizing resistance. If we do not act quickly, we will face the same threat our ancestors faced 12,000 years ago." The Krell representative, a massive insect-like being, clicked its mandibles nervously. The old records speak of human, tactical brilliance. They fought with a ferocity that shocked the galaxy, which is why we must crush them now, added the ethereal representative, its energy form flickering with anxiety. Before they become too strong, the council voted unanimously for immediate action. Every human colony would be pacified using maximum force. No survivors would be taken. Humanity would finally be erased from the galaxy. But Captain Webb's victory at New Geneva had done more than just win a single battle. It had awakened something in humans across the galaxy. On the cargo ship routes, pilots began attacking hegemony supply convoys. In the research stations, scientists started building bombs. In the military bases, Human soldiers turned their weapons. Against their alien commanders, Commander Torres received reports from across human space. The uprising was spreading faster than anyone had expected. Humans who had been loyal servants for their entire lives were suddenly fighting with the skill and determination of born warriors. On Titan Base, Lisa Park led a team of engineers in capturing the entire orbital facility. They used the base's own construction equipment to start building human warships. The first ship, built from plans Alina had discovered, was ready for testing within a week. Dr. Chen, still hiding aboard. Harmony Station managed to break into the main Hegemony computer systems. What he found there horrified him. The aliens had detailed records of their ancestors' war against humanity. They knew exactly how dangerous humans could be, and they fought for their freedom. Chen also discovered something else: the locations of other human populations that had survived the ancient genocide, hidden colonies scattered across the galaxy, small groups that had escaped the Hegemony's attention for thousands of years. These survivors had maintained their technology and their independence. Chen sent coded messages to these hidden colonies, telling them about the awakening happening across human space. The responses came quickly. The hidden humans were ready to join the fight. They had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The first major space battle happened, near Wolf 359. A Hegemony battle fleet moved to attack a human mining operation that had declared independence. They expected to face a few cargo ships and construction vehicles. Instead, they found Captain Webb commanding a small fleet of ships built from ancient human designs. The battle was short and decisive. Human tactics, weapons, and determination overwhelmed the Hegemony forces completely. 3 alien cruisers were destroyed, and the rest fled in panic. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. Other alien species, long oppressed by the Hegemony, began to ask questions. If humans could defeat the mighty Hegemony fleet, perhaps freedom was possible for everyone. On the research world of Alpha Centauri, Dr. Amy Walsh made contact with the Zentari, a peaceful species that had been forced to serve the Hegemony for 2,000 years. The Zentari had always been excellent engineers, but the Hegemony had forbidden them from building advanced technology. "We will help you," the Zentari leader told Walsh. "The Hegemony destroyed our independence just as they destroyed yours. Together, we can build ships that will make them tremble." Alina emerged from the ruins carrying the most important discovery yet: complete plans for the ancient human capital ships that had once ruled the galaxy. These were not just warships, but mobile cities that could carry entire populations between the stars. These ships, humanity could evacuate threatened colonies and establish new homes beyond Hegemony reach. But Alina had found something even more important than ship designs. Deep in the crystal storage systems, she had discovered the location of Terra Prime, the lost capital world of the ancient human empire. Terra Prime had not been destroyed in the ancient war. It had been hidden, protected by technology the Hegemony could not break. Alina sent the coordinates to Torres, Chen, and the growing human resistance network. "Terra Prime still exists," her message said. "Our true home is waiting for us to come back." Torres looked at the star charts Alina had provided. Terra Prime was far from any current Hegemony territory, hidden in a region of space marked as uninhabitable on all official maps. It would take months to reach it, but if Alina was right, they would find not just a planet, but the technological and cultural heart of human civilization. The rebellion was no longer just about fighting the Hegemony. It was about going home. As reports came in from battles across the galaxy, Torres realized that humanity was not just winning individual fights. They were winning the war. The Hegemony's greatest weapon had always been the lie that humans were weak and needed protection. But that lie was crumbling with every human victory. The chains that had bound humanity for 3 centuries were finally breaking. And when they shattered completely, the galaxy would remember why humans had once been the most feared warriors among the stars. Zethkar stared at the battle reports coming in from across Hegemony space. Human forces were winning everywhere. Worse, other species were joining them. The careful control the Hegemony had maintained for millennia was collapsing, for the first time in his life. Coordinator Zethkar felt genuine fear. The humans were no longer servants pretending to be grateful. They were what they had always been underneath, a species that refused to kneel to anyone. The war for galactic freedom had begun, and humanity was leading the charge. Alina stood on the bridge of the starship Terra's Hope, watching the ancient capital world grow larger on the main screen. After 6 months of fighting across the galaxy, humanity had finally come home to Terra Prime. The planet looked exactly like the images stored in the crystal archives: blue oceans, green continents, and cities that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. But Terra Prime was not empty. As Elena's fleet approached, massive defense stations powered up around the planet. Ancient human ships, sleek and deadly, rose from hidden bases to meet them. For a moment, Alina feared they would have to fight their own people. Then a voice came over the communication system, speaking in the old human language that Alina now understood perfectly. "Welcome home, children of Terra. We have been waiting for you to return." Alina felt tears running down her face as she responded. "Is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the Human Liberation Fleet. We have come to reclaim our heritage." "We know who you are, Elena Vasquez," the voice replied. "Your name is written in our histories as the one who would awaken our scattered people. Come down to the surface. The Council of Terra Prime is waiting to meet you." The shuttle carrying Alina, Commander Torres, Dr. Chen, and Captain Webb descended through Terra Prime's atmosphere. Below them, they could see cities that had survived for thousands of years, powered by technology the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Parks and forests covered vast areas between the urban centers. This was what a human world looked like when humans were free to build it the way they wanted. The shuttle landed in front of a building that was clearly the planetary capital. Thousands of humans waited to greet them, but these were not the scattered survivors Alina had expected. These people looked healthy, proud, and strong. They wore clothing that combined practical function with artistic beauty. Their eyes held the confidence of a people who had never been slaves. An elderly woman stepped forward from the crowd. Despite her age, she moved with the grace of someone who had lived her entire life in freedom. "I am Counselor Margaret Stone, speaker for Terra Prime. Welcome home, warriors of humanity." Alina looked around at the faces in the crowd. "How many of you survived here?" 2 billion, Counselor Stone replied. "When our ancestors realized the hegemony could not be defeated with the technology of that time, they hid our capital and waited. We have spent 12,000 years preparing for this day." Torres stepped forward. "What kind of preparation?" Counselor Stone smiled. "Come, let us show you what humanity can build when we are free to reach our full potential." The tour of Terra Prime amazed the visitors from the outer colonies. The cities were powered by clean energy that seemed to come from the planet itself. Transportation systems moved people and goods instantly across vast distances. Medical facilities could heal injuries that would be fatal anywhere else in the galaxy. Educational centers taught children to think, create, explore with unlimited curiosity. But most impressive were the shipyards. Alina stared at the massive construction facilities that stretched 4 kilometers underground. Hundreds of starships were being built, each one larger and more advanced than anything the hegemony possessed. "We have been building this fleet for 1,000 years, Counselor," Stone explained. "Every ship is designed to carry families, not just soldiers. When we reclaim the galaxy, we will do it not as conquerors, but as liberators, bringing homes for everyone who wants to be free." Dr. Chen studied the technical specifications displayed on screens throughout the shipyards. "These ships are incredible. How did you advance so far beyond current galactic technology?" "We never stopped being human," Counselor Stone answered. "The hegemony tried to make your people forget that humans are natural explorers, inventors, and builders. They wanted you to think small, to accept limits. We never accepted any limits." Over the following weeks, Alina and her team learned the full scope of Terra Prime's preparations. The hidden human colonies had not just survived, they had thrived. They had developed technology that could travel between stars instantly. They had created weapons that could destroy entire fleets without harming the planets they defended. Most importantly, It maintained the human spirit of exploration and freedom. But Terra Prime had also been watching the galaxy, waiting for the right moment to act. They had seen other species suffer under hegemony control. They had planned not just to free humanity, but to free everyone. "The Zentari taught us patience," Counselor Stone told Alina as they walked through the Capitol gardens. "The Altarians showed us how to hide our technology. The vegan crystalline beings gave us new ways to store information. Every species the hegemony oppressed helped us prepare for liberation." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the war was turning decisively in humanity's favor. Captain Webb led the combined human fleets in a series of victories that shattered hegemony military power. The aliens who had seemed so mighty and advanced were no match for humans fighting with their full technology and tactical knowledge restored. On the industrial world of Hegemony Prime, Coordinator Zethkar watched his empire crumble. Ports came in hourly of worlds, declaring independence, species joining the human alliance, and hegemony forces surrendering rather than face human weapons in battle. "How did we lose?" he asked his advisors. "We had them under control for 300 years. We made the mistake our ancestors warned us about," replied his military commander. "We let humans live. Should have destroyed them completely when we had the chance. But it was too late for regrets." The liberation fleets from Terra Prime had arrived in the core systems, bringing not just military power, but hope. Humans came, not as conquerors seeking revenge, but as liberators offering freedom to all. Elena found herself standing before the rebuilt Terran Senate, now meeting in the ancient chamber that had been restored to its original glory. Representatives from dozens of species sat alongside human senators from worlds across the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy had a government based on freedom and cooperation, rather than fear and control. Admiral Torres, now commanding the United Galactic Liberation Forces, delivered her final report. The hegemony military has surrendered. Their core worlds have accepted the new galactic charter, guaranteeing freedom and self-determination for all species. The age of oppression is over. Dr. Chen stood to present his historical research. "I have established the Galactic Truth Commission. Every species will have access to their real history. No one will ever again have their past stolen from them." Alina was offered the position of president of the new Galactic Federation, but she declined. She had found her calling in a different role, teacher and explorer. She would travel to every world that wanted to learn, helping species rediscover their own potential and build their own versions of freedom. As Alina prepared to leave Terra Prime on her first mission, Counselor Stone gave her a final gift, a crystal containing the complete history of human civilization. "From the first settlements to the current day, this is for you to carry to the stars," the counselor said. "Not as a weapon or a tool of control, but as a reminder. This is what any species can become when they refuse to accept chains." Alina looked out at the stars from her ship's observation deck. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities. Humanity had remembered who they were: explorers, builders, teachers, and guardians of freedom. They had broken the chains that bound not just themselves, but countless other species. The hegemony had tried to make humans small, weak, and grateful for scraps of freedom. Instead, they had awakened a species that naturally thought big, fought hard, and refused to kneel. Captain Webb approached Alina as she stood watching the stars. "Where to first, Doctor?" Alina smiled as she thought about all the worlds waiting to learn what freedom could look like. "Everywhere, Captain. There's a whole galaxy out there that needs to remember how to dream." The ship turned toward deep space, carrying humanity's greatest gifts: the knowledge that freedom was possible, the technology to defend it, and the unbreakable human spirit that refused to accept any other way of life. Behind them, Terra Prime continued its work of building ships, training teachers, and preparing for a future where every species in the galaxy could choose their own destiny. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of freedom had begun, and throughout the galaxy, on worlds that had forgotten what hope looked like, people looked up at the stars and dared to dream again. Because humanity had roared, the chains were broken, and freedom had finally come home.